Lauren. Lauren! What? You've been playing Mass Effect for the last 7 days. Don't you think you should be doing something productive? First of all, I'm not playing Mass Effect. This game is called Garrus Dating Simulator. It's not. Second of all, I know I should be doing other stuff, but I can't focus. I have ADHD. Name 3 fictional corporations from Mass Effect. Binary Helix, Conitix, Gen X Chemical. Name 3 more. Genetic Paradigm, Mars Gene, Serta Foundation. So you can focus, it's just on stupid shit. Yes? How is that ADHD? Because I can't control what I focus on, okay? Some things come to me easily, like movie or video game lore. And some things come to me quite hard, like managing my finances or remembering to clean up my apartment. And you being mean to me doesn't actually make me work any better. It just makes me more sad. Okay, I get that, but I'm worried because I know how good you are at being creative, but I don't see that being translated into real work. I feel like you don't care. I do care. That's why I feel bad about it. And that's why when a sexy alien general like Garrus Vicarian says he loves me, I choose to spend all my time with him instead of getting yelled at by you. He's not real! He's real in my heart! Excuse me. This was supposed to be a completely different video, but you know what? My problem is I'm more ambitious than I am organized. So here's a video about ADHD. Even as I'm sitting down to film this, my brain is already in 1,000 different places. I want to play Red Alert 2 right now. Kitty reporting. What will I make for dinner? I haven't checked my Facebook in 3 minutes. What if something happens? So, what's my problem? My problem is that I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. First of all, what is ADHD? Well, to quote psychiatry.org, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is one of the most common mental disorders affecting children. Symptoms of ADHD include inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. ADHD is considered a chronic and debilitating disorder and is known to impact the individual in many aspects of their life, including academic and professional achievements, interpersonal relationships, and daily functioning. A lot of the material on ADHD is about kids, but I assure you it affects adults because for the last 15 years, ADHD has ruined my goddamn life. Which sounds hyperbolic, but I assure you is completely the case. I can't remember details very well, so I learn a lot about how to make and edit these videos for my channel, and I won't retain most of it, so I have to start over again when I make a new video. That's partly why my uploading schedule is so chaotic. And the thing is, my shitty memory can be very selective about what it wants to remember. I can remember the first 151 Pokemon, but I don't remember my multiplication table, and one comes up far more often than the other. And so far, those are pretty benign examples, but I really struggled all through school and my professional life. I remember I got hired to clean carpets and they fired me after 2 weeks because I couldn't remember the specific way they wanted me to push the little steam vacuum thing around. I worked at a grocery store for 4 weeks before they let me go because there were just so many routines I had to memorize and juggle all at once. But I couldn't keep track of all of it and I kept losing stuff for work. They made me a list to help me remember, but then I lost the list. I failed so many college courses because I just couldn't remember enough of what I had to do to get good grades. By the time I dropped out, my GPA started with a decimal point. My point is, ADHD can have lasting impacts and it follows you around. And for those of us with ADHD, those problems are magnified under capitalism. I'd like to quote this international study from several different European universities. Individuals with ADHD had, on average, during follow-up, 17% lower income, 11.59 more days per year of unemployment, and 18.99 times higher odds of disability pension compared to individuals without ADHD. I have never in my life made more than $40,000 a year, and that's in Canadian dollars, so I don't know, $80 US? My point is, ADHD has a real financial cost, and it creates setback after setback, and those setbacks add up. Now, I only got diagnosed for ADHD when I was 29 years old. For decades, I had no idea anything was wrong with me, and a big part of that is because of ADHD's name. Culturally, we have this idea of ADHD, meaning kids who bounce around all over the place and can't sit still, aka the hyperactive in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I was a very quiet kid. So quiet that I would actually get in trouble for it. I remember the teachers would write home notes to my parents complaining about how quiet I was, which in hindsight is kind of hilarious because, I went to a Catholic school, so of course they tried to punish their way out of problems they didn't understand. It's what Jesus would do. I had inattentive type ADHD. People with inattentive type ADHD have trouble paying attention to details and are easily distracted, often have trouble organizing or finishing tasks, and often forget routine chores, such as paying bills on time or returning phone calls. Like, for example, I will forget about different services I subscribe to. I had Audible for 4 months before I finally listened to a book. The book, by the way, was Game of Thrones, and I never finished reading the series, but George R.R. Martin never finished writing it, so I'll call it a wash. The thing with inattentive type ADHD is that it's very quiet. Yeah, I struggled all through school and with doing homework, but me being distracted was never distracting to other people, so nobody noticed anything was wrong. This is especially true for a lot of women who have attentive type ADHD. As kids, they might have appeared really quiet and passive, and thus their ADHD never got noticed. A lot of the time, women don't find out they have ADHD until their own kids get diagnosed, and they discover some of the symptoms. For adults with ADHD, we often have trouble focusing on tasks at work, and that might come off as carelessness when we make mistakes. I remember when I worked at a movie theater, and management would always be on my case because the money in my till was always off. Not because any money was actually missing, but because we took a lot of different kinds of coupons, and some of them we had to hold on to, and some of them we had to throw away, and I would always get confused about which was which. It was stressful. They'd give me write-ups and threaten to fire me, but my brain just literally couldn't do what they were asking of me. And this is really the problem with having ADHD in our modern society. In fact, I'm reminded of a 2020 study in the UK, which revealed that 50% of employers would not employ a neurodivergent person, with the most biases leveled at people with ADHD or Tourette syndrome. As people transition from being kids with ADHD into adults with ADHD, they often feel a ton of stress, shame, and anxiety in their life. I spoke with some of my friends who have ADHD, and they all have some version of feeling overwhelmed by their experiences. Some withdraw from the world and try to focus as hard as they can on work. Some choose the easiest job they can find so that they can manage their anxiety. Many dropped out of school. All of them expressed some frustration at not being able to achieve their full potential. And this is just incredibly hard. All my life, people have criticized me for being lazy or careless. Even well-meaning friends will call me out for what they perceive as a lack of effort on my part. And it's so frustrating. I know I need to do things differently, but I'm goddamn struggling out here in this capitalist hell world that doesn't care about any of the people it leaves behind. When I tried to fix ADHD, it wasn't a straightforward process. After I began to suspect that I had ADHD, I brought it up with my doctor, who refused to prescribe me medication for it. Instead, she sent me off to a specialist who had a 12-month waiting list. Only it wasn't 12 months, it took 18 months because partway through, they lost my goddamn referral. And when I finally met with a specialist, they could only see me for a few appointments because their backlog was already so huge. I had to try so many different kinds of medications because most of them didn't actually help. The only ones that helped me so far is Vyvanse, and while it makes it easier for me to focus, it also makes me exhausted for a day and a half after, so I can't rely on this for a normal job. My work, my finances, school are all things that have been negatively impacted by ADHD. I'm currently living on disability for a variety of health reasons, and the government doesn't give me enough money to survive on. The time, focus, and effort it takes to lift oneself out of poverty is already a huge task for neurotypical people. For those of us with severe ADHD, it's even more difficult, and my heart goes out to everyone suffering in the same boat. Even if we didn't live under capitalism, my ADHD would still be a problem. My house would still look like shit because I forget to clean it. I would still have my rejection sensitivity, which makes socializing hard. I would still hyper-focus on some things while completely neglecting others. I could make a whole video series about my experiences with ADHD. Only I can't because I don't have the focus for it. Usually at this point in the video, I try to think of something funny and lighthearted to say, but I'm kind of worked up now, so enjoy some bee footage of my pet rat. Baby, baby, you're adopted. You're adopted. Aww.